But in any case, I'm a bit up in the air. And this little book is nice, and I thought I actually might. The publisher was anxious for me to do another one, like maybe a series. And I said, no, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to do a little one on Tom Stoppard as well, because we've had also many conversations over the years. And
Yes.
it's sort of easy to do because
Yes.
a lot of it's recycling old material,
Yes,
but then
yes,
updating
yes.
it and so
Yes,
on.
yes, yes.
So I might
Well, why not?
very well do that.
Why not? Why not? Why not? Why not?
And how are you? Besides it?
I'm better.
Mhm.
I'm better. I had a nasty turn after Berlin. I went there and was not equipped for the cold weather.
After what?
After Berlin, I went to Berlin and wasn't equipped for the cold weather. And behaved as though it was just normal London winter. And paid a price because it's very cold.
I haven't been to Berlin in years. What were you doing in Berlin?
I was just having a look around.
Mhm.
I wrote the last chapter of my book there in August.
Really?
Yes. And so I thought I was so busy working that I hadn't looked. And then, of course, what happens, you go back to have a look with your mind clear, and you find that you did look quite well when you were working, you know, that you took the little... But the cold weather hit me for 6, and I've just recovered. Is that the proof they sent you?
Yes. Have you seen that copy?
I've seen...
Page 100 is missing.
Oh,
I don't know why.
I wonder why page 100 is missing. They're making a very big, be a nice edition, wouldn't it be?
Oh, I think so.
Yes, yes.
Yes, please.
I think there was some trouble with the, yes, there was some trouble with the numbering in the proof. No actual page is missing, is it?
Yes, it is, in fact. Turn to page
There is a page missing.
Turn to page 100, because it stops in the middle. And actually, it's an interesting part. It's minor. You're talking about reaction to your book. He says it's fun, it's humorous, and then it jumps.
36 pages. God, I'd better talk to...
Now, it may just be my copy of this.
I hope so, because clearly, it's clearly from 940 to 976 is missing. Mm-hmm. And this is... I see what happened, because this is... Oh, it got a little confused with the numbering. I hope they'll correct it. Yes, it's when you, in a roundabout way, abuses me.
That's right. It seems to happen periodically. People praise, but also abuse.
And yes, I was very pleased to invent all of this. You know, man apparently be saying nice, but really running down ones.
Give a little, take a little, I think it is.
Yes. I'll talk to Knopf about it. I'll talk to the man there, asking. But they'll swear to me that they'll pick up things like this. They would, wouldn't they?
Oh,
they
of
would.
course, yeah. I said that
yes.
It may just be the one cut. Before we start, though, I just want to go over the thing again with Bill Lufford, who's been on the telephone to me several times, just so you're all clear about it.
Yes.
I might refer.
Yes.
Which is the thing about the New Yorker magazine.
Yes.
Bill, who seems to be, I used to think he was a nice man. I'm not so sure.
Yes.
He seems to be working very hard these days, hard.
Yes.
Is very concerned about release dates on pieces and all.
Yes.
And
yes.
he was worried that, in fact, if the piece in the Times Book Review came out before the New Yorker, that would damage the New Yorker piece.
They'd be very upset, I think. So he told me that on the phone, yes.
What I didn't tell him, of course, is that there's always a chance with the New Yorker as well. Well, I know that they'll postpone it anyway, or they won't run it. I mean, they're very unreliable, I would say.
Yes.
But as I told him at the beginning, is that I just write it. I have no control over when they want to run it. It's all up to the book review. And I didn't want to put you...
When did you last talk with Bill Lufford about it?
Several days ago. And he said he was going to clear it up with Becky Sickler, who's the book review editor.
Yes.
But I'm sure she's going to say she's not going to hold any promises about when to release it and so on.
Yes.
So I don't know where that puts us. I mean, I think, to be frank about it,
He's hoping that you might transfer it to the paper itself or something.
To the paper itself, or at least to hold it some way until the New Yorker comes out, which
Yes.
the Times, in any case, would probably never do. I mean, they're not going to wait for someone else before
Yes.
they release it.
Yes.
To my eyes, I don't see. I don't see why he thinks of the Times Book Review or the Daily as a competitor to the New Yorker.
I think they probably do. You see, I don't want. I know nothing about it. You understand? I think it's up for them to.
Well, that's what I'm suggesting is that we just go ahead and we talk, and I'll write it and hand it in, and it runs when it runs, and hopefully it'll run so it doesn't conflict with the other one if the other one comes off. But it's just not something that we can, either you or I could control.
Yes. I understand.
So
if it goes on, it's neither will appear.
Yeah, yes, right. Well, the question is whether you even want a New Yorker piece to appear. I don't know. It's a risky.
I've put myself in their hands.
Yes.
And we have rejected. You're the only two people I'm talking to. And I'm talking to one other person from the trade. It turned out to be a man who was my junior doctor by 2 years, a man called John Baker. Mm-hmm. He had this thing called the Publishers Weekly.
I think I went to school with John Baker.
He's an Englishman that went studied in America.
Well, there was a John Baker who used to be an editor of various Publishers Weekly and things like that.
I think it would be the same man
because one.
He had a slight American accent, even at Oxford.
I think actually he was a classmate of mine at Middlebury College.
Well, look at that.
I haven't seen him in so many years.
Yes. So, but that's trade. That's supposed not to interfere with anything else. But
and anyway,
Vanity Fair and all this kind of rubbish. No.
Well, that's the point, and I really felt at some point the New Yorker even is a bit of a question mark, honestly, that she is so unreliable. Tina Burner is that.
Yes.
Did they name someone who's going to talk to you at all? Or?
They mentioned a name, Stephen Schiff.
Well,
what's his name? What's his? Bill Lovett says he's not the most intellectual of men.
That's right. I remember Pinter doesn't like him.
I see.
He did a piece on him for Vanity Fair once.
I see.
And he was very concerned.
I see.
Offended, but that's besides the point.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
In any case, I thought we should start with the...
Well, let's hope something does. Otherwise, you'll have to run a kind of conversation with VSN over for your series.
That's right.
Over 20 years or something.
Right. In any case, the last time that we formally talked,
yes.
it was 91, and the book was India.
Yes.
And you said at the very end of the interview that, I guess I must have asked what you were doing next or something, and you said you were doing a lot of returns, summing up journeys for the emotion and for the feeling of completeness.
Yes.
Now, I assume this is what led directly to this book.
Yes.
These journeys for the...
But I meant that in a very concrete way. And then what happened is that my back let me down very badly. Okay. I couldn't walk. Also, that was a great upheaval in my life. I became like a figure in a comic book. Had to be taken in a motor car to the bank and totter up the steps, get the cash, come back down into my car. No walking. I literally could walk about 100 yards in a day. That was the limit. And thereafter, the spinal cord was too badly gripped.
Mm-hmm. So that meant for a long period of time you did not go through with this plan for...
I literally had to abandon traveling very soon. I couldn't walk for about 4 months. Mm-hmm. I had begun this book. I'd written the first. I was working on the second, that thing about the Red House, and I was in Madrid. I went for a walk one day in the garden after working, and I just I felt, but this is absurd. I can't walk. I have to sit on the road. I have to sit down on the these things happen like that. I just have to sit down without being drunk or anything. I just have to sit down on this road.
Did you sit down on the road?
No, I managed to get to the other side, but and it was a long time before people realized what was wrong. Largely because they don't want to send you to have a scan, and you have to queue up for that. Yeah. And then I had my surgery a year later. So the book was partly written through the surgery as well. Mm-hmm. And a very extraordinarily childish view of surgery. They'd used the word to me, the doctors, about decompressing I had a severe stenosis. Stenosis, stenography, contracted thing. A stenosis in my spinal column. So a severe stenosis. It needed to be decompressed. Sounds as though there was going to a little pin, some air was going to come out. All right. So I went with my books and papers. I was writing the Foster Morris piece. I just got to the beginning about the boys fishing for shark. I was writing that very carefully. And I took that to the hospital with me. And was sitting at the hospital bed, though you have the little table, writing my exercise book, composing. And then I was taken away. They came and they dragged me and took me away. I really had a fantasy in which I was going to get up next morning and just carry on writing about people fishing. Fishing.
While they were carrying you in, you continue writing?
Well, just before, and then they came and they gave one pills and they drugged one, really.
Well, that's the first time you've written under such circumstances.
Yes, and so when I came back, all this immense thing about lying flat on your back, taking exercises to you use the limbs, going for 10-minute walks 6 times a day, and it took over one's life. And I've only just recovered. So the book is written through that, really.
Did you actually take trips back to Trinidad and Guyana for it?
No.
No, you did.
No, it was all done. It was all done through my. It was all done through memory and the brain and things like that. Yes, yes.
How far back does the idea for the book go?
Some of those pieces are very old and have been simmering for a long, long time. Raleigh has been simmering for about 20, before being written, simmering for about 27 years.
Well, some of the pieces actually sounded like they might have begun with ideas for books not written.
Yes.
Raleigh,
yes.
for example, would be an obvious example.
Yes, yes. And Miranda.
And Miranda, too.
Yes. And the Miranda, it's extraordinary because it was creating, in that year he spends on that island, creating this plantation slave place without mentioning, without being too obvious about the slave background, just taking it for granted. I had long wanted to do that, and that again I wanted to do from, I would say, since about 27 years. I wanted to do something about the slave background in imaginative writing. But the idea I'd had in mind was the idea of the mulatto, the free mulatto, who wanted to sleep with a black servant girl and scratched a love potion into her palm, and she had reacted hysterically. That is where I wanted, and that just becomes a little. That's very glancing. That episode is glancingly done in the text itself.
Had you thought about a whole book on Miranda himself at one point?
No. That's the reason why I suppose when I had thought of these things as plays, narratives, rather smaller things I could manage. And there we are. What is odd about Miranda is that when I was composing it, I thought at the beginning 25 pages. I was so deep in the book, I was very deep in the book, and I thought 25 pages Miranda's story. And I had the structure in my head. And the structure never altered. The thing just grew and grew, writing over 6 months. And I felt about it was quite inspired writing. I felt like about that Miranda as I'd felt 30-something years before when I was writing bits of Mr. Biswas. I had that feeling of being quite transported. Because, with prose writing, it has to go on and on. You go on being in a state of exaltation. So it had this odd thing of being possessed. I was looking forward to ending the book with 25 pages and then rounding up with another 20 about the African episode. And this 25 page in my mind became 100 or more.
Well, it's strange because the book, in reading it, has a very natural construct to it.
Yes.
Yet I would suppose, I mean, it's interesting you would have said that things would become longer as you wrote it. You didn't plot it out all beforehand, did you? I mean, you didn't plan out every chapter or.
I wrote it down. There was an outline.
There was an outline.
There was an outline. Very. I wonder if I couldn't summon up the outline from my computer for you. I had an outline. Just very brief. Just a few hints. But the book was actually written sequentially, as it appears. It wasn't writing and then going back to write. It was all written like that. That's why it has that shape.
Before you began, you had the beginning and the ending both? Well, the pulling together of the beginning and the ending, I mean, certainly.
Yes, and lots of things are left out. Many things were left out. Or have became disguised in other ways. And there's a lot of material because I was planning 2 books. There's a lot of other material for probably a second of another sort now, of another sort.
What of the sort?
I don't know. But there's a lot of material.
One of the interesting things that I thought was that I felt at many points you were going through an experience which I had read about in a different form, in a different book.
Yes.
Whether it was A Bend in the River or
yes.
Finding the Center. Yet it was something entirely different. And it was almost like parallel experiences were going on.
Yes.
And I wondered, is there any way to, and maybe it's the wrong use of words, but whether you consider either one foreground or background, and whether there's any level of importance that you would attach to the African experience, which you would have used in Bend in the River, for example, and then how you use it here.
Yes.
Any way to differentiate the 2 experiences or the 2 views of the experience that you went through? Is that clear?
Yes. It's a reworking of experience, and especially in my own mind, as it were, a settling of accounts for me with myself in some ways. And I mean by this that there are books that cost me a lot of pain, and they didn't come out well because I was a prisoner of a borrowed form. I wasn't writing my own kind of book. I was using somebody else's form. I did an immense amount of work for The Loss of El Dorado. It was an immense labor. But I borrowed the historical form, the history form, the form of the history, and damaged the work. I think bad form and this was a way for me of clearing that. There was a very good book I could have written about Mrs. Stone, wonderful book, but I used the bad form.
What was the form in that case, would you say?
I was using the form of the novel or something, the third-person narrative. Suppressing the writer, the collector of material, the gatherer, the I. And that book would have been immeasurably better. Might even have been a good book if the colonial gatherer of material, the colonial person who was witnessing this, those old ex-colonial European people back in North London after 1930s in Malaya and other places, if I had, as it were, wrung more out of that instead of pretending to be writing a kind of Jamesian novel where the writer doesn't intrude too much.
Nor is it Mr. Stone have been closer to you personally? Is it?
I think the material would have been, I would have used, it would have been a much better book. It would have been a very good book, in fact. But you know, so there are these bad forms.
Does that also apply to Ben in the River, though?
No, I think that's a good form.
Yeah.
That's my own form. That's my own form.
Right.
That's my own form. That's where one is. Oh, I'm very content with almost everything I've done since I've been 40. Really, that's when. But it's taken all that time to arrive at being oneself. You know, one isn't born oneself because one's born with a massive literature around one, a massive expectations. Mass of other people's ideas, and you have to work through it all. So Mr. Stone could have been a very good book. It could have been a book about the relationship of the narrator and those old people, the comparative situation, a young man in London trying to make his way, these old people whose lives were at an end and desperate to hold on to a kind of life. I mean, as older, because people old and get very frightened of fading away. That would have been a good book. Many layers, many different ideas coming together. It would have been truer about the experience too. But by suppressing myself, I wrote a book that was essentially false and of little value.
Well, is it also more coming to terms with the earlier books? I mean, like Elvira and Miguel Street and so on. Is that?
Miguel Street is original. That's original. That's my own. There was nothing like it before. No, that's entirely original. But you see, I was so lost for so much of that time as a young man, as a writer, not knowing how to move on. So a lot of these problems do come in that period with, as you say, I'd say that Elvira, the second book, well, I wouldn't want to be judged by it. But everything one writes, oddly enough, however flawed, talking about these early books, they were a help to one. And that book was a help to me in bridging a gap, telling me I could go on, giving me again the thrill of working at something day by day. It was very important because my first book, I had written 2 books at that time. I had written Miguel Street, which no one wanted to look at. I had no agent. And then I had written, the book had gone to Deutsch, but you know, his reaction was not friendly. And then I'd written a novel because he wanted a novel. And those books were done in 1955. Desperate to get started. So I was promised publication in 56 for one of those books.
Mr. Gussow.
Or The Street or something, but it never happened. And I went to Trinidad, and you know, things are not good there with my family. And so I came back really fully expecting to get proofs and to get started on this literary career. No, nothing had happened. And the depression, Man of 24, the depression, the sense of being absolutely lost. And out of that rage and out of that hurt, I began to write The Suffrage. And if I didn't, as it were, wasn't able to enter that garden of creation and to lose my grief, well, I don't know how. It would have been very hard to go on. So the books have their function.
Curiously, though, I mean, it came out as a comic novel.
Oh yes, it's extraordinary. One always writes comedy at the moment of deepest hysteria. Yeah. Yes, that is why humor, the good humorous view, which is not comedy, not hysterical, comes out of a more settled man. But oh yes, comedy is a form of hysteria. Certainly for me in the early days.
I was surprised. I mean, certainly I was fully aware from knowing you and also from the books how difficult it was at the beginning. But the phrase you used was that, and it's way at the end of that book, but that life had turned out to be hard and mean.
Yes.
Was the reference, I assume, to the earlier part of your writing?
Yes.
It seemed to me so strong.
Yes, it is strong.
But it really was. I
yes.
mean, that's not.
Yes, it was desperate. Mm-hmm. It was desperate.
Desperate to be a writer. Is this a word?
Yes, knowing how to move, knowing how to become a writer, yes, it was desperate. Mm-hmm. It was desperate. It wasn't. It looks easy at the end of the course. You see where you've been and what has come out. But there was a time when there were no books. There was a time when you didn't know how to fill the time. Mm-hmm. And since it was my only resource, since I literally had no money, things were desperate.
There also was a time when you didn't...
I mean mean. Yeah. I think, well, Pat says the words are too strong.
Well, that's interesting.
But I thought of it as mean. Yeah. I never thought of myself as poor, you understand, because I always, deep down, I knew that I was going to... But it was mean. It was mean.
I mean, that to me, those words conjure up Dickens. I mean, that it really is the meanness of one's life.
Yes, because the meanness, it wasn't only the meanness of one's circumstances, it was the spiritual meanness mm-hmm. of not knowing how to move, of being empty, not being able to look at the experience of them and to make books out of them. Was
there a point when you thought about just not doing it? I mean, not being a writer, doing something else, killing yourself? I mean, whatever. I mean, just was how far were you pushed by all this?
So many years of having to pick oneself up from this feeling of inanition. I said on several occasions I tried to get jobs, yes, to do other things. But I did it only once, for a few weeks.
What job was that?
That was the cement job, the famous cement job, when they were wrecking, the people were building all these dreadful buildings which they're now pulling down. And I was promoting the idea of cement for a cement magazine. And I knew nothing about architecture. But they had a lovely library. And I would take these wonderful books about Alvar Aalto and these other modern architects home and read them. It was a great little... So I benefited from that anyway.
You learned about cement?
I learned about, but that was one of the jobs I took. And I often applied for jobs at BBC. But they laughed at me at BBC. They laughed.
You did do your radio jobs, though.
Yes, for the Caribbean service. But they laughed when I said I would like to do features for the big services. They laughed. I remember them laughing to this day.
Why? Well, why did they
It was too absurd in the 1950s for an Asiatic from the Caribbean to say he wanted to write features. All this has been forgotten now because they can't find enough half-witted people to represent these communities. It was different 40 years ago, or 37 years ago. They laughed. I don't mind. I feel no animosity. Mm-hmm. I just mention it as I'm just being descriptive and historical. I'm not settling an account.
The early on there were the phrases like.
But you asked then about whether one felt like. The other feeling was that. To this day, if you ask me how I became a writer, I cannot give you an answer. To this day, if you ask me how a book is written, I can't answer. One of my own books, I can't answer. So I had to... And there were periods, and very long periods, if I didn't know that I had somehow in the past written a book, I would have given up many times with particular works. Because the idea of sitting down and writing a book, invoking the muse, being artificial, Because writing a book is not writing a poem. It's something that has to go on day by day. And they're sheets of paper. Prose narrative is quite different from instinct or the inspiration of a moment. If I didn't know, you go on and you go on, and then with luck one day somehow something happens and you are transported. And this thing does make sense because you're feeling it's going to make sense. And then you will rewrite all of that stuff. If I didn't know this was the way that I worked and had worked in the past, many of the books until I was 40 would not have been written.
I think you say this to me about that begins with kind of an artificial act.
Yes.
A forced act almost to sit down and do it, and then you are, as you say, you transported it.
And out of that, I suppose only the original books of original form have survived, properly survived. I suppose the first Indian book was entirely original in form. I wasn't aware at the time it was so original. An Area of Darkness. Yeah. It's quite original. Autobiography, travel, contemplation. It was written out of panic, written absolutely out of panic, that thing. And then Mr. Bismarck's also an important book, major book.
Throughout this book, you talk about people who remake themselves, is a word that appears a lot.
Yes.
Whether we're talking about these explorers or the several writers that you mentioned in passing. And it strikes me, of course, that at some point, beginning in an early stage, that you remade yourself as a writer. It was more than making yourself a writer, but remade your own feeling of yourself. And it was lines like, questions. Sometimes we could be strangers to ourselves. Early on, had nothing to write about.
Yes.
So it was a need to define what writing meant.
No. The thing is that it's all a process of learning, developing. You just don't strike your form and then that's it. You don't just do your Agatha Christie or your Graham Greene and you strike your form and you just do it again and again.
At first you felt you had nothing to write about, though, yes?
Yes, because I was too close to all that tragic experience, too close to that tragic history. If one had the clarity of vision at 16 or 17 to understand what one had come out of, I think one would have been overwhelmed by distress.
At that time you were writing about the Black Beauty contest, I remember.
And things like that. I wrote that, yes, looking for... And, well, one is constantly altering one's view of the world. One is constantly, therefore, seeing things differently. And one is constantly undoing the falsities or the selectivities into which one is led by the form one is practicing. For example, the novel form selects. There's a crisis, it works itself out. It doesn't seek to tell the whole truth. It's a great process of selection, as it were. And so there are lots of things which have been left out, even at the end of a very active life. And so it's this process of, as it were, rethinking. One is rethinking all the time. All the time one is thinking. One doesn't stop and say, this is the final view.
But it's curious, so at this early age, when you decided you want to be a writer, and obviously you don't know how to be a writer, you also say that you felt that you were, it's paraphrased, but destined for achievement.
Yes.
Why
My family always made me feel that.
Starts with the family, with your father?
No, with general family,
that you were going to, as it quote, amount to something.
Yes. Never lost it. Never lost it. I'm still shocked to this day. Let's suppose I go into a shop as I did yesterday, electronics shop, and the people keep me waiting. Still a little part of me is shocked that they should. It's very awful.
Kept you waiting?
They kept me waiting while they finished dealing with that other man, yes. I was a little shocked by it. After all these years, that is a kind of, well, there, I think it's built into one.
Well, would it have shocked one before one achieved? I mean,
it would always have shocked me, yes, that people didn't see and didn't recognize.
Now you prove the achievement.
No, that people didn't. It was always one of really, goodness. Why are they so dim? Why have, what's wrong with this man? I recall this very, yes. The only complete writer among, I've been reading Pepys, quite extraordinary.
Pepys?
Complete man. I mean, no better book, in a way, if you want the completeness of man. Pepys, yes, got it all. But then he wasn't a writer in that way. He wrote it in cipher for himself, and curious.
It seemed to me that there were so many parts of this book that were more personal to you than other books that you have written.
Tell me.
Well, certainly all the stories about Foster Morris and the importance of him and his reactions to your work, and the other one as well, Lebrun.
These are now slightly. This is where these are acts of creation to some extent. You understand?
Well, I'm curious about that. What they are, in fact. In other words, Lebrun, for example, the piece that he writes for the Russian paper.
Yes.
You say is miraculous. In other words, it makes you, or makes the character in the book. Let's differentiate.
Yes.
See something he had never seen before.
Yes.
That that was a transforming experience.
Yes.
Are these acts of creation? I mean, the use of Lebrun, for example. Did you make that up, or is that?
No, somebody actually sent me a Russian thick magazine about my work, about the early work, and it was translated for me, and it had that effect on me. I was quite staggered by the perception, which I realized matched at a deeper level my own, but which the work itself wasn't expressing. So it was a curious kind of underground connection.
In this case, it was as I gather, the helplessness of my characters.
Yes.
That he was able to identify.
Yes, profound. Yes, once you understand that. Yes. They really are not free men. Society is very limited. They can't move very far. They can't do very much. The nature of the world around is too confining.
And this is still true of the characters, you say?
I think it is true. Yes.
Even though the titles are in
because the idea of those people I was writing about, people in that small background, because the only freedom that's come to them now is the freedom of travel within their own little territories. I think life is as confined as before.
But it's curious. I suppose what it leads to it. I mean, I realize at least some of the fictional elements in the book. I mean, certainly when you tell stories about Raleigh and Miranda and all that. I mean, that's like a novel in a certain way. I mean, there really is there's a fiction.
It's based on an awful lot of research,
right.
Of course, yes.
And there's even dialogue and
yes. Oh yes.
On the other hand, there are scenes with this character who is readily identifiable with you, which seem to me extraordinarily personal. And I must say, at some point, I stop and say, well, let me see now. Is this? I mean, it's more for me, the reader, to worry about than for the writer.
Yes.
But is this fiction? Is this?
What are you thinking of especially?
Well, the passages I said largely with those two men, with Lebrun and also Foster Morris in particular, meeting him and your feelings about him and so on. It seemed to me that in terms of your own writing.
No, there is a starting off point. There is a starting off point with Foster Morris. Lebrun is a creation. But he doesn't. Lebrun is a creation. But there is this element of truth about this Russian magazine, which is sent to me, this communist interpretation of my work quite early on.
One role that Foster Morris plays, I think, and I link that partly with Miranda, is the idea of a early success followed by failure or disappointment. And I wonder if that's at all valid, if that's what you're.
No, because Foster, I don't think, Foster, in Foster's life, yes. Yes, that's, no, that has nothing to do with me.
No, not with you, but I'm saying in terms of a theme in the book about other characters.
Yes.
That I find that goes through a lot of people, the idea of a great success as an explorer or as a writer, not yourself.
Yes.
Followed by it was great promise, let's say.
Or let's say the definition of a career, the definition of a personality, followed by the gradual attrition of this personality.
Right. Yeah.
It's rather that, rather than success.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. I suppose that's true. Yes. Yes.
And it's probably a fear that any writer, any artist would feel.
I actually don't have it. So, as I said, since I've been 40, I've gone through bad patches, but one has been silent for many years. Mm-hmm. But more secure now than ever, and have been secure, certainly greatly secure since about 1977 as a writer.
Well, it certainly shows in that book, I would say.
Utter security. And that's an underlying theme of the development of a writer's security in the ability to record, to look at the world, to break out of the other forms. Once you're following it, once you do your own form, once you're true to the material, true to your experience, and you find the form for it, and you are not work of history, work of scholarship, work of fiction, short story, novel, these are arbitrary divisions. Once you break out of that, then it's easier.
Is this for you a new form, or is it a similar form to the Enigma of Arrival, do you think?
It's a pendant to it, but quite different.
Yeah.
Quite different.
It's strange. It's almost like you probably shouldn't. The arbitrary division of the titles here, where it says, yes, in non-fiction, fiction. It's almost like they should.
Yeah.
Because there are several middle things all around.
They're middle things.
It should be books, probably. But.
I think that we have to rethink it all now. Yes, it'll have to be rethought. It'll have to be rethought. There are certain things where I try to be absolutely true, and that's oddly enough in the yes, absolute. I make those clear in.
The phrase I see here, playing the newsreel back.
Yes,
is something that you've done.
Oh yes, yes. You always did it. Yes, always did it.
And whether you're going to India, Africa for a book, or just going through a daily experience, I mean, you'll always play
constantly.
Yeah.
When I was younger, certainly I did it all the time. You had fewer experiences, fewer meetings, fewer events in a day, so there was more to play. You played it more often. As you get older, experience mounts up. So, but one forgets very little, really.
Playing it back doesn't mean writing it down in a journal.
Oh no, I've not been a diary keeper. I do it only when I'm disturbed in my writing, and I do it when I'm traveling sometimes.
But after a day, you'll replay this in your what's happened.
Yes, after every meeting, I'll replay it. I'll not only replay the words, I'll replay the face. Should we say I'll replay the face several times. I'll replay it all constantly. Everything.
Is that also an act of interpretation, would you say?
Yes. Yes. Trying to
like what did it mean? I mean, not just what was it?
Yes. The truth of it.
Yeah. Which, of course, is what you're doing quite a bit here, I would think. Like the man that you meet on the plane going to, was it Venezuela?
Yes.
That seems to be a replaying of what it was like then and then later.
But this thing where this face is such a mysterious face, it can be anything. It can be a mestizo from the coast, it can be a man from India.
Right, you don't know what it is, but...
Yes. This is almost the nature of the material one is dealing with. They're looking at different ways of dealing with it.
But that it becomes clarified as you, in fact, play it back.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. What is the the prefatory poem?
I would like to leave it unknown. I'd like to leave it unattributed.
Okay.
I would like to leave it unattributed.
Because I read it and I said, well, should I know that? Or did in fact you write it? And then I passed over.
It's actually very, very famous. What I've done, I've inverted the sequence. The last 4 lines come first. And the second 2 lines come afterwards. Because that's the way I wanted, the book, as it were, inverts the poet's view of the world.
Your beer on every face. Say that again. The book inverts the poet's view?
Well, the poet is saying that other people come and we fade away. And this book is saying, we fade away and other people come. It inverts the sequence. Mm-hmm. It's a very famous poem.
Well, I'll find it. I'll seek it out.
Very, very famous, yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And certainly another important theme is inheritance. I mean, a search for one's roots or whatever, for background, to go back beyond one's grandparents. And
yes, yes.
Something that you've been doing.
Inevitable to, I think, people in the New World, inevitable.
Mm-hmm. Can you trace your people?
Not very far back, not very far. Mm-hmm. That one accepts now, that one is just a New World person. I remember, give you an idea of how the world just stops if you grew up like I did. The world just stops with your grandparents. Having some trouble believing that Americans had relations in Russia. I thought they were all like me, that just on this side, and that the barrier had come down. And they'd find that they were, people like yourself.
Yeah, we have relatives in Russia.
Exactly. I found it very hard to understand. Mm-hmm.